The Electronic Software Association has officially cancelled E3 2023, following weeks of increasing speculation that the event was not moving forward. E3 has long been seen as the largest industry event of the year, going back to its inaugural convention in 1995. However, a combination of the COVID-19 pandemic shutting down in-person events, increased industry focus on digital events, and unhappiness with the ESA have derailed E3. In March 2022, the ESA officially announced the cancellation of E3 2022 and said it was due to ongoing health risks associated with COVID-19. The ESA announced at that time that E3 would return in 2023 in a revitalized showcase, combining industry events and fan engagement. Later that year, the ESA would confirm that both a June 13th to 16th in-person convention held at the Los Angeles Convention Center and an online digital event featuring shows from partners would be going forward. All prior plans for E3 2023 have now been cancelled by the ESA. There will no longer be an in-person event, nor will there be E3 online events. In a public statement from E3 organizer RE4, the cancellation was explained as what's right for the industry and what's right for E3. E3 2023 was said to have not garnered enough interest to deliver the size and scope of an event that would be expected. More specifically, RE4 says that interested partners were not able to have playable demos ready, and that resourcing challenges made attending E3 too large an obstacle. As such, RE4 says it would be unable to deliver the showcase what you deserve and that you've come to expect from RE4's past events. RE4 runs multiple conventions throughout the year, including C2E2, EGX, and Emerald City Comic Con. This official confirmation comes after Sega, Tencent, Ubisoft and Devolver Digital were all opted out of E3. In a statement to VGC, Ubisoft has said it has decided to move in a different direction, and its own event, which is named Ubisoft Forward Live, will be held on June 12 in Los Angeles. There was no reason revealed by Ubisoft as to why this sudden change has been made. Regardless, Ubisoft stated, E3 has fostered unforgettable moments across the industry throughout the years, but when it comes to its own event, it looks forward to sharing more details with its players very soon. Last month, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot talked about plans to show a lot of games at E3, so likely all these titles will now be transferred to Ubisoft Forward Live. One of the closest releases fans are looking forward to is Assassin's Creed Mirage, but among Ubisoft's upcoming titles are games such as Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Beyond Good and Evil 2. It should be clarified that while E3's digital plans are cancelled, that doesn't mean that its partners and other organizations won't be moving forward with their own events. Summer Game Fest reconfirmed its digital plans today. Partners already include 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Capcom, EA, Epic Games, Sega, PlayStation, Square Enix, Warner Bros., and Xbox. While E3 may be cancelled, an E3-like digital experience will still occur in early June. In an interview with Christopher Dring from GamesIndustry.biz, ESA President and CEO Stanley Pierre-Louis explained this decision to cancel E3 2023. Pierre-Louis declared that the goal of ESA was to serve as the voice of the gaming industry in the US and that the company tried to provide developers and editors with an improved platform for the return of E3 in 2023. To produce this new version of the event, ESA partnered with RE4, a company that operated major events including PAX and Comic-Con. However, despite this partnership, E3 2023 failed to convince major gaming companies to attend the event, ultimately leading ESA to cancel this edition of the Electronic Entertainment Expo. Despite the cancellation of E3 2023, ESA remains hopeful regarding the future of this event. Pierre-Louis noted that the gaming industry was an evolving landscape and that ESA will review the E3 formula to make sure it answers the needs of the industry. ESA will keep on providing developers and editors with a platform to share their upcoming projects, but as the market changed its priorities in terms of game development and economics, E3 may change its format in the future. As other in-person events are coming back, such as the Summer Game Fest, Pierre-Louis remains hopeful as to the future of E3. It is an event that was created by the likes of Nintendo, EA, Sony and Sega back in 1995. And it'll be those same companies, plus a few new ones, who will decide whether it comes back or disappears from view. Sadly, the industry appears to be moving past E3 and what the convention offered. The ESA isn't willing to say that E3 is entirely done just yet, however. Both the ESA and ReedPop confirmed that they will continue to work together on future E3 events. That's not a formal announcement of E3 2024. But even if they put the effort to bring back E3 next year, Jeff Keighley already took those pieces of the pie with the Game Awards and the Summer Game Fest. The Summer Game Fest 2023 is scheduled to go live on June 8, 2023, will be broadcasted live from the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles. As such, the show will commence at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. In addition to being live-streamed, the event will be held in front of a live audience as well. It is really sad seeing E3 in the decline for the past 4 years, and at this pace the event will be no more in a few years. Even if I haven't attended E3 live, I've watched the conferences online. E3 2016, when Kratos came out of the shadows, I still get goosebumps watching that. And the live orchestra and reveal of God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Death Stranding, Days Gone, Resident Evil 7, PSVR 1 and many great things. You can never get those type crowd pops in digital-only events. I hope those days return, and RIP E3. The upcoming Horizon Forbidden West DLC is adding a brand new machine for Aloy to ride, one that has a unique ability that has never been seen in the series to date. After months of rumor and speculation, Guerrilla Games finally revealed its new DLC expansion for Horizon Forbidden West during December's Game Awards 2022 event. Subtitled Burning Shores, this new DLC subplot will take Aloy to the remains of Los Angeles, where wild machines and active volcanoes threaten anyone brave enough to step within its boundaries. Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores plot will pick up where the main game leaves off, prompting Guerrilla Games to advise players to complete the main campaign before divining into the DLC. Previously released footage for Burning Shores has provided fans a glimpse at some of the new machines Aloy will encounter on her latest quest, including one massive beast that destroys what was left of the famous Hollywood sign during the Game Awards 2022 trailer. However, not all machines in the Burning Shores are enemies, and Aloy will end up befriending a truly one-of-a-kind mount in her trek through what used to be Tinseltown. Guerrilla Games released some new footage for Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. This snippet reveals a new machine mount for Aloy, the bird-like water wing. Just like Horizon Forbidden West Sun Wing, this majestic mech can pluck the Nora hero from any location and take her to the skies above. However, it can also dive into the waters below, serving as a makeshift submarine that Aloy can use to explore beneath the surface. While the baseline Horizon Forbidden West introduced flying mounts and amphibious machines, there haven't been any rideable mounts that can travel underwater until now. Burning Shores looks to change this, as well as take full advantage of the PlayStation 5's hardware to deliver a visually stunning gameplay experience for Horizon Forbidden West fans. The release of Burning Shores will also be a bittersweet moment, as it will feature one last performance from the late Lance Reddick as Aloy's reluctant ally Silence. Guerrilla Games and PlayStation have been providing more context regarding the decision to move the Burning Shores to PS5. With a recent PS blog post featuring an interview with game director Matthijs de Jonge. One of the first elements discussed was how incredibly visual the Horizon games are, which means the added CPU power and memory allow that creative quality to be further enhanced. The ability to play the game in a constant state of 60 frames per second was also highlighted, a feature usually desired by fans that can feature 4K gameplay at 60 frames per second or higher. Matthijs also elaborated that while Horizon Forbidden West wasn't limited in its capabilities to optimize for the PS4, Guerrilla did have to plan around how to express their content for both systems. With Burning Shores, Matthijs says the focus was solely on the PS5, allowing Guerrilla to charge forward with their creative vision unabated. He further explains that the ruins of Los Angeles and its surrounding areas, especially a settlement in and around the ruins, will be highly detailed and full of activity, requiring a lot of processing power. This also applies to a particular Burning Shores boss battle that Matthijs claims could only be handled on the PS5. The developers of Horizon Forbidden West have recently affirmed that an upgrade in the game's cloud system made the Burning Shores DLC unable to run on the PS4. Now, clouds will be stored in-game as 3D objects instead of just 2D effects. The PS4 simply could not handle the larger datasets for the effects to work as intended. So, the extra power of the PS5 will be necessary to render these atmospheric effects and ensure that the game continues to be one of the most beautiful PS5 games. Clouds have also been enhanced with the power of the PS5 using voxel technology for generating dense, dynamic results at low and high altitudes. According to Guerrilla Games, exploring while flying will be one of the main features of the Horizon Forbidden West DLC. By doing so, players will be able to find caverns, tunnels, and a few other surprises. So, the clouds were necessary to create a different feel for each journey and offer a better experience for players with lifelike clouds. Depending on the time of the day, the gamer would be able to easily see some parts of the world, while not seeing others as clearly. To create this system, the developers worked together with an external Dutch studio and used the latest tech to render the clouds. Clouds will feature lightning and landscapes like tunnels, caves, and other surprises. This edition highlights critical elements Matthews explained when it came to harnessing the power of the PS5 with draw distance, in which details can be displayed at a much further distance, especially with players utilizing flying mechanics. This further verifies a PS5-only DLC, as passing through cloudscapes will be as accurately varied as the land below. With this information regarding the power of the PS5, it only makes sense that Burning Shores is a PS5 exclusive, especially when you enter the new Water Wing into the equation. As showcased in the new Meet the Machine, the Water Wing will not only take Aloy through the gorgeous newly rendered cloudscapes but diving underwater for further exploration. Burning Shores has highlighted Los Angeles as a volcanic archipelago, emphasizing new aerial and underwater traversal. In the trailer, the Water Wing is seen nosediving underwater, fully capable of swimming with Aloy on its back as she maneuvers around the underwater ruins of Los Angeles and its surrounding areas. This adds an entirely new element for underwater exploration that wasn't featured in the base game, possibly adding a level of protection from other underwater threats. Furthermore, Guerrilla claims that the Water Wing is a highly maneuverable and an unrelenting foe when disturbed. This information may mean that underwater combat will be feasible in Burning Shores on the back of a Water Wing. Horizon Forbidden West's Burning Shores DLC will take Aloy to a new and unforgiving landscape, and it looks like players will be able to easily explore this new, post-apocalyptic environment from the sky or sea with the recently revealed Water Wing. This new and unique machine mount will be available to all explorers once Burning Shores releases next month, and it remains to be seen what other wonders await amid the scorched ruins of Los Angeles. Machines like the Tidripper can strike Aloy underwater even if she can't reciprocate, so it would make sense to give machines one or two submerged attacks that she would be incapable of alone. These don't have to be overpowered necessarily, it would make sense to let Aloy basically defend herself and have it be an optional challenge to actually destroy other underwater machines. Even if the Water Wing doesn't get this capability, the concept it represents has more potential. Aloy could ride machines like Snapmaw's underwater in Burning Shores or Forbidden West sequel, and now that a precedent is set. The more dynamic ways that Guerrilla is able to approach its unique cast of robotic animals and dinosaurs, the better. Burning Shores may just be a proving ground for more to come in the Horizon franchise. Saints Row Reboot is set to receive a bevy of new DLC content through the next few months and into the summer, including a crossover with the upcoming Hollywood zombie slayer Dead Island 2. After Saints Row's disappointing launch last year, it hasn't been getting much post-launch support at all, leaving fans disappointed. Saints Row launched in August of 2022 to very poor reception. The reboot of the GTA-styled open-world action series was a departure from what fans have come to expect from the franchise, with poorly received characters and dialogue. The world of Santo Ileso, while at least visually appealing with the neon signage and desert vibes, left a lot to be desired as well. Saints Row even put the future of the franchise in jeopardy as Volition and Deep Silver were reeling from underwhelming sales and harsh reviews. With that, it's very surprising to see Volition double down on Saints Row over 6 months later with a new DLC roadmap. The roadmap, revealed via Twitter, features a multi-windowed graphic highlighting each month through to August, though skipping June. With Deep Silver's Dead Island 2 right around the corner, it's no surprise it's doing a crossover event with its two most well-known franchises to promote the release of its very long-awaited zombie thrasher. The Dead Island 2 cosmetic pack will be available free for players in April. Alongside free updates that'll add new districts to Santo Ileso, the roadmap also reveals 3 new expansion passes. The first of which, called The Heist and the Hazardous, will add new story missions to the game. Since some feel the narrative ended on a high note, hopefully these new story missions will expand upon that a bit. July will see the second expansion pass added to the game, a new solo mode called Doc Ketchum's Murder Circus. Lastly, the third and final untitled expansion will release in August, which will also provide even more new story missions. It'll be interesting to see if this DLC roadmap will be able to breathe new life into the Saints Row franchise. While many consider this new Saints Row to be a flop, there are many fans who want to see this beloved zany open-world series to continue on. Hopefully this new roadmap is the revival this franchise sorely needs. Dragon Age Dreadwolf has recruited Mark Dara and enlisted the help of the Mass Effect team in order to finish the game. EA said because the next Mass Effect is still in its pre-production stage, it won't be an issue for them to work on Dragon Age Dreadwolf as well. Mark Dara left Bioware in 2020, serving as the developer's executive producer and project director up until that point. He has worked on all three of the now-released Dragon Age games. Dara left a heartfelt message to all the fans in December 2020 when he announced his retirement, along with Casey Hudson, who also played a crucial role in creating the Dragon Age franchise. At the time, he described his departure as a difficult decision, but he voiced his belief that even without him, Dragon Age would thrive and be in good hands. Currently, the reason why he decided to return to BioWare and help finish Dragon Age Dreadwolf is still unknown. EA said Mark Dara approached the BioWare team about returning, and his offer was gladly accepted. He will now work as a consultant, helping to maintain the legacy of the Dragon Age series. The leadership around the game will remain unchanged with Corinne Bush as game director. As a reaction to the news, Dara also posted on his Twitter account, promising to release a video on his YouTube channel which will explain his decision. Besides him, the Mass Effect pre-production team has also been welcomed on board to help polish Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Reportedly, this is a tried and tested technique with EA. Other teams have been asked to work on games to help quicken the pace of the release. However, it appears Dragon Age Dreadwolf is still far from being finished. Gary McKay, BioWare general manager, said, "We continue to iterate and polish Dreadwolf, focusing on the things that matter most to our fans." Although Dragon Age Dreadwolf has had a difficult production with plenty of pauses and departures, Samantha Ryan, EA's senior vice president, stated it's normal for a complex game of this genre to take a long time to build and polish. Considering the rocky journey Dragon Age Dreadwolf had already, fans are likely anxious to hear positive news and a release date. Hopefully, the return of Mark Dara will help usher in more positive updates. The Lord of the Rings Gollum will be coming out on May 25, 2023, so it's now right around the corner finally after a number of delays. Gollum has faced repeated delays and now has only the vaguest of release windows. The game was first supposed to come out in 2021, before being delayed into late 2022. That window came and went too, leaving us where we are now. You can now pre-order Gollum on a range of platforms, so if you're a huge fan of Tolkien's world you'll want to get an order made sharpish. Multiversus Open Beta will soon come to a somber close, as Player First Games is planning to take the free-to-play platform brawler offline to prepare for its full launch next year. Multiversus had enjoyed success during its beta launch last summer, bringing popular WB characters into the fold like Rick and Morty, Black Adam, and Marvin the Martian since then. When Multiversus launched, it was regarded as a bona fide Smash Bros. Competitor, sporting tight and precise brawler gameplay and a wealth of creative move sets for each character. The introduction of classes to a brawler game like this was unique and provided specific characters with roles and optimal play styles. Mage characters like Rick and Bugs Bunny are strongest at range, while assassins Arya Stark and Harley Quinn seek backstab opportunities for bonus damage. As a beta, this was an opportunity for Player First Games to observe, take feedback and tweak the gameplay. Now it's time for Player First to take what it's learned over the past few months and apply it to the upcoming full launch next year. Multiversus director Tony Huynh announced that the open beta will be closing down on June 25 and the game will be taken offline, thus pausing all updates for the time being. Unfortunately for players, this means online play will no longer be available until the full launch in early 2024. Offline modes such as the lab training room and local matches will still be accessible. Tony Huynh also mentioned they'll be reworking player progression and all unlocked characters and cosmetics will be carried over to the full launch next year. It will be interesting to see how progression will be reworked and if the unique, yet controversial perk system will remain intact. It's also possible that Multiversus status as a free-to-play title will become jeopardized with this move towards a full launch. As of now, players must unlock characters by either earning gold coins through playing matches or purchasing Gleamium. With the promise of even more characters added to the roster upon next year's launch, it'll be interesting to see if this unlock system will see a change as well. Even though the offline modes will remain accessible during the months between the end of the beta and next year's full release, the temporary loss of the main meat and potatoes online experience is going to undoubtedly be a major disappointment for fans of Multiversus. In the perilous world of live service game development, taking a game offline for any amount of time is incredibly dangerous for all-important player retention. Additionally, players who have invested money in Multiversus have the right to be upset at not being able to play for months on end. It will be interesting to see if next year's launch will give Multiversus a much-needed second wind or if the damage of taking the game offline for a year will be permanent. Valve has officially announced that Steam will no longer support Windows 7 and 8 starting next year. The most popular PC gaming client on the market has been a mainstay installation for virtually every gamer in the world, whether for its free-to-play offerings or its stellar sales, but soon enough, none of this will be available on legacy Windows OS versions. Steam first launched back in 2003 to fairly widespread critique, as it marked the first time a company would offer its own integrated content delivery and DRM service for users to install. It took time and effort for it to grow into the game library application that users know today, and for security's sake, Valve believes now's the time to move on from some of Microsoft's older OS versions. According to the official announcement from Valve, Steam will no longer support Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 8.1 operating systems as of January 1, 2024. Valve has explained that the reasoning for this is twofold, as not only does Steam itself run on Chromium, which no longer functions on old Windows installations, but it will also require the latest Windows feature and security updates. These, of course, are only available on the up-to-date Windows 10 and newer, meaning that 2023's upcoming Steam sale events will mark the final push for Steam-based gaming on Windows version 7, 8, and 8.1. While some of the gamers who recall what Steam looked like nearly 20 years ago may still be using legacy versions of Windows for a variety of reasons. Dropping support for pre-10 builds of Windows was to be expected, and since Valve is giving everyone a fairly decent heads-up on what's about to happen, it's unlikely anyone will be blindsided by this change. The fact that Steam is still getting millions of new users during sale events is a testament to the service's longevity and reliability. And the only way to keep it running in the future is to keep an eye on the latest security updates and improvements. Naturally, the fact that 3 major versions of Windows are getting dropped in 2024 implies that the same thing will eventually happen to Windows 10 as it enters its end-of-life status with Microsoft, but that's a problem for another day. Those who may have already had enough of Microsoft's operating systems, however, might have a reasonably useful replacement OS to look forward to. Valve is working on releasing the Linux-based SteamOS sometime in the future, and it's already proven its worth via the Steam Deck. Whether it pans out or not is, however, an entirely different matter. Speaking of Steam, developers of the popular Nintendo GameCube and Nintendo Wii emulation software Dolphin have announced that it's being ported to Steam. While the Steam Deck's biggest selling point is its affordable price point compared to desktop gaming PCs and accessibility for major AAA releases, its potential for emulation has built a growing niche audience. There's a diverse range of Steam Deck emulation software available, but native support for Dolphin could prove to be one of the platform's most exciting releases yet. Dolphin is an emulator for 2 of Nintendo's consoles, the Nintendo GameCube and the Nintendo Wii. The emulation software is entirely open source and is free to download and use for any purpose. Hundreds have worked on Dolphin over the years, and it remains in active development today as the emulators seek to continue optimization and increase support for games that may not work or hardware that may not be supported. For the time being, Dolphin is not currently supported on Steam. The developers of the Dolphin emulator have simply announced that it will be launching in the second quarter of 2023, and have started a Steam profile allowing fans to wishlist it. Planned features and the process of using Dolphin through Steam will be confirmed at a later date. It should be made clear that the Dolphin developer team refers to the release as an experiment, though it's been in the works for months. What's also important to clarify is that the Dolphin emulator is being released as an application for users to run their own legally acquired software on. Dolphin does not supply any games itself. It is not officially tied to Nintendo or Nintendo software in any capacity. Users will need to legally dump copies of their own GameCube and Wii games into a compatible format, which can then be run through Dolphin. Dolphin has technically been available to use on Steam Deck for some time now, through indirect means. Dolphin can be installed on Steam Deck via the EmuDeck software, for example. Or it can be installed using Decky and Power Tools, though it requires some extra work. This recent announcement is for official support of Steam, which means optimization and troubleshooting that wasn't available prior. Fans of emulation will understandably be very excited about this decision by the Dolphin development team. To be able to play emulated Nintendo GameCube and Nintendo Wii games with the Steam Deck, as a handheld device, is very exciting. Expect more news regarding Dolphin's Steam release in the next several months. Speaking of Nintendo and emulation, the eShops for both the 3DS and Wii U have officially closed down. Both of these systems had the eShop as their digital distribution services for over 10 years, with the 3DS eShop predating the Wii U's by almost a year and a half. Nintendo's first major foray into digital game distribution was on the Wii and DSi, which sold WiiWare and DCware titles, respectively. These evolved into the Nintendo eShop, the name of the digital distribution service on the 3DS, Wii U, and Switch. In February of last year, Nintendo announced that the eShops for the 3DS and Wii U would close in March 2023, with a later addendum stating the stores would close on March 27, 2023. At 5 p.m. Pacific Time, March 27 has since arrived, and thus the eShops on the 3DS and Wii U have officially shut down. Those who try to access the eShop on either console will be notified that it is no longer possible to download new content, including free demos, 3DS themes, or paid content in apps like Nintendo Badge Arcade, which lost some of its functionality last week. Nintendo has affirmed on its website that online play on either console won't be affected, and it will still be possible to receive updates and re-download content for the foreseeable future. The online communities for both systems have been active in recent days, with some buying massive amounts of games and also paying their final tributes to these consoles' digital libraries. Many of the digital games on these consoles were exclusives and took advantage of their unique features, such as the 3DS 3D display or the technology present in the Wii U gamepad. As a result, many of these games have not been ported to other consoles and are no longer purchasable through official means. This gave many even more reasons to buy these games digitally while they still could, such as YouTuber The Completionist, who famously spent thousands of dollars buying every 3DS and Wii U eShop game before their eShops closed for the purpose of preservation. In the age of digital distribution, the closure of digital game stores is extremely impactful to not just game preservation efforts but also to those who simply want to be able to play games through official means. Unlike the PS3 and PS Vita, whose digital stores were kept online, Nintendo did not budge in its intent to shut down these eShops. The closure of these stores was disappointing to millions, and unfortunately, this is unlikely to be the last time that gamers encounter this problem. After some conflicting reports regarding its status, CD Projekt Red has now reclarified the status of its upcoming multiplayer Witcher project. Late last year, CDPR announced several spin-off games for the Witcher franchise, including one tentatively titled Projekt Sirius. Not much is known about Projekt Sirius so far. Initial reports have stated that it will include multiplayer elements on top of the usual single-player experience. It will also be developed by the Molasses Flood, a Boston-based subsidiary of CDPR behind such titles as The Flame in the Flood and Drake Hollow. However, CD Projekt Red has since given an update for Projekt Sirius that has put the future of the title into question. In an investor's report last month, CDPR announced that it is formulating a new framework for Sirius, and it was suggested that development would be refocused toward the reported multiplayer elements as part of an impairment change. This has led many to believe that Projekt Sirius could be scrapped altogether, especially after the divisive reception of recent multiplayer-focused titles like Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. CD Projekt Red President and Joint CEO Adam Kaczynski recently clarified Projekt Sirius status during yet another earnings Q&A earlier via IGN, stating that while the multiplayer Witcher game is being taken in a different direction, it has not been cancelled outright. He added that while the recent impairment charge was a tough decision to make, it was the right choice for the project. Our intention was to cut costs early and give ourselves time for reassessment. We don't want to carry on with projects that we are not aligned with. Still, CDPR is committed to Project Sirius as a way to extend the Witcher franchise to new audiences. At long last, CDPR has finally referred to the next game in its upcoming The Witcher saga as Witcher 4, but it seems as though this may have been a slip of the tongue from the studio's CEO. Despite the backlash over Cyberpunk 2077's controversial launch at the end of 2020, CD Projekt Red is in great financial shape, helped by the fact that the dystopian sci-fi RPG has been through significant changes to make it better, not to mention all the upcoming projects from the Polish developer. Given the code name Polaris, a new game in the overarching Witcher series is currently in development and will form part of the next saga in the fantasy franchise. Since it was announced in 2022, CDPR has insisted this new Witcher game will not be numbered. In fact, not much is really known about the game or even if this mysterious Polaris is indeed The Witcher 4. However, it seems as though a nugget of information may have slipped out. According to a recent report from GamesRadar, CDPR President Adam Kaczynski referred to the next game in the company's RPG series as Witcher 4. During an earnings conference call, the CEO mentioned the desire to release 3 new games in the developer's The Witcher franchise over the next 6 years, starting from the release of Polaris, which is Witcher 4. This suggests the studio could be calling the upcoming project The Witcher 4. However, Kaczynski may not have intended to imply the next game will be called The Witcher 4, as an official email from CD Projekt Red sent to PC Gamer says that Kaczynski's statement was a slip of the tongue. Polaris, according to the studio's clarification, is simply the official name of the first game in the new saga. If so, it's possible calling it number 4 was just in reference to it being the game coming out after The Witcher 3. Still, it's significant that Kaczynski said it during the call, especially as it seems to vindicate all who have been calling the new game The Witcher 4 since March 2022. As of now, CD Projekt Red is working on a number of games, including a follow-up to Cyberpunk and a remake of the original The Witcher. Along with new things in development, the next era for the studio has seen the team make the jump to Unreal Engine for future projects, signaling the company's departure from its in-house RE engine that was used to make Cyberpunk and the previous Witcher titles. Speaking of The Witcher, a new rumor also suggests that Project Sirius is currently planned as a one-time thing. After the recent shutdowns of various live service games, it seems this project is going to be completely single-player and drop the previously reported multiplayer elements, at least according to this rumor. This title will allegedly be comparable to the Witcher Ronin manga, taking place in an open-world or semi-open-world location inspired by Japan. Finally, the rumor claims an anime adaptation is being considered too, as well as the game hoping to further popularize The Witcher in the East. Notably, Sirius roughly translates to the brightest star in the sky after the sun and is also known as the Dog Star, possibly hinting at The Witcher's School of the Wolf and the Land of the Rising Sun. However, whether that's evidence for this rumor or just a factoid that inspired it cannot be determined. There are some claims in this rumor that are rather dubious though. Secondly, prior job listings hinted at this Witcher game having co-op and other multiplayer elements. Saying multiplayer was entirely canned seems unlikely as a result, especially because of GOS games. Though, again, this could just be poor wording and could refer to competitive game modes. On the other hand, the Post is also getting flack for saying it wants to popularize Witcher in the East. Potentially poor wording aside, The Witcher 3 is indeed one of the most popular Western RPGs in Japan, the point of conflict, but contextually it does make sense to push on this market because of that fact. Reports indicate The Witcher 3 has sold 50 million copies worldwide, but it wasn't until the start of 2023 that it became the most popular Western RPG in Japan with 1 million copies sold. Ultimately, this Witcher rumor has more working against it than it does for it, so it remains to be seen if there is any kernel of truth here. While it is likely false, stranger things have certainly happened. CD Projekt Red is gearing up to share more information about Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming DLC at some point this June. The Cyberpunk 2077 DLC, Phantom Liberty, was first announced in September of last year and was followed up with the reveal of Idris Elba joining the cast. Cyberpunk 2077 launched in a disastrous state back in 2020 but has since been experiencing a resurgence in recent months following the success of the Cyberpunk Edge Runners Netflix series. In the years since launch, CD Projekt Red has been hard at work fixing the massive futuristic RPG and improving the game's technical state. Many players felt the game originally had great storytelling and world building despite its technical shortcomings. Now, with the game in a much better state, gamers have been giving the title another chance and are excited about the upcoming DLC. CD Projekt Red revealed that more information about the highly anticipated Phantom Liberty DLC is coming in June. While the DLC will be leaving old-gen consoles behind and will be available at a premium price tag, there's no doubt that players are excited about Phantom Liberty, especially now that the base game is, for the most part, back in good graces. June is a historically busy month in the world of video games with Summer Game Fest and the PlayStation Showcase set to take the stage again this summer. It would be safe to assume that a name as big as Cyberpunk 2077 would show up with new DLC information at one of these two major events, either at Kickoff Live or another platform holder's major showcase. Speaking of Cyberpunk 2077, it was recently revealed that Cyberpunk 2077 will be getting a free visual upgrade through NVIDIA's RTX technology, with the new Overdrive mode being confirmed for release on April 11th. The Game Developers Conference is an annual event that focuses on developers and studios, as well as featuring award ceremonies. This year, GDC honored Doom co-creator John Romero with a Lifetime Achievement Award. The 2023 event began on March 20th and CD Projekt Red took part, providing further details about the upcoming shinier version of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 2077 will be getting a new mode called RTX Path Tracing Overdrive on April 11th. The NVIDIA-powered upgrade will give the game a visual kick, which includes direct illumination to make those neon signs really pop, ray tracing capabilities for more realistic reflections during those rainy days in Night City, and other tweaks to lighting and shadows. The new mode will support version 3 of NVIDIA's DLSS, or Deep Learning Super Sampling, upscaling technology. For a game that already looks stunning, this new Overdrive mode sounds like it's going to be a winner for those who really like their games to look their best. Following the latest financial results of CD Projekt Red, it has recorded a big jump in profits for the fiscal year ending in March 2023. The company has seen through a promising year thanks to its massively popular IPs like Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher. Now, as CD Projekt Red heads into another quarter, its financial performance is bound to boost confidence in the company over the coming months. Although CD Projekt might not have released new titles as of late, 2022 wasn't short on notable updates for the company. Back in February last year, Cyberpunk 2077 shipped its next-gen update with patch 1.5 and generated renewed excitement among fans. This was followed up by the release of the Netflix anime series Cyberpunk, Edge Runners, which pushed Cyberpunk 2077's popularity even further. Even The Witcher 3 got a boost in interest during the year thanks to its own next-gen update in December. With CD Projekt's latest financial results, it appears that these updates and content releases have proved fruitful for the company during the year. CD Projekt recently issued its financial performance for the 2022 fiscal year, where the group posted 347.1 million zlotys, $81 million, in net profits, a jump of 66% year-on-year. Out of this, a bulk of its revenues stems from Cyberpunk 2077 sales. The company states that the title generated 18% more sales compared to the same reporting period in 2021, which might not be surprising considering that Cyberpunk 2077 crossed 20 million sales by September 2022. Additionally, sales of Witcher 3 copies along with revenue from the GOG platform contributed towards the company's profit gains for the year. As of now, CD Projekt is ramping up its ongoing development efforts, with the company's vice president and CFO Piotr Nielaboek stating that over 200 million PLN, $47 million, of its 2022 net profits have been invested toward its future projects. While it might be some time until fans get to see a new entry in the Witcher franchise, Cyberpunk 2077 players can expect its DLC to release later this year. Either way, following up on a profitable year's performance, 2023 is shaping up to be another interesting year for CD Projekt Red. Project Sirius is far from the only new game CDPR has in the works, as the host of other titles set in the worlds of The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 were announced at the same presentation that revealed Sirius. Projekt Polaris will be the first installment of a brand new Witcher trilogy. There will also be a full remake of the original Witcher game, which is being developed using Unreal Engine 5 and will likely update the mechanics of the old game to bring it more in line with The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It is certainly an exciting time for fans of The Witcher, and players can rest easy knowing that the multiplayer-focused project Sirius is proceeding despite its reported change in direction. Only time will tell if this new direction will spell success for the currently untitled Witcher spin-off, as many details are still being kept under wraps. Final Fantasy XVI has gone gold ahead of its release this June. It has been nearly 7 years since the last numbered entry for the franchise, and Final Fantasy XVI is shaping up to be one of 2023's biggest releases. The past few weeks have seen the marketing for Final Fantasy XVI skyrocket, with outlets and content creators offered opportunities to preview slices of the game, in-depth showcases highlighting the world, and trailers teasing the narrative that brings it all together. There are multiple blog posts about how 16 utilizes the power of the PS5 and the DualSense features. Yoshi P recently held a panel at PX East, presenting a significant amount of details and gameplay for Final Fantasy XVI. A lot of time has been dedicated to explaining the complete embrace of real-time action combat, a stark deviation from a series that has traditionally included turn-based elements of some variety. With how much of the game is being publicly shown, it is not too surprising to learn that development has reached a new milestone. Brief and simple tweet from the official Final Fantasy XVI account announced the news, expressing hope on behalf of the entire team that fans are looking forward to the fast-approaching launch. It is rare for video games to go gold this far out from release, as it usually means that the title is virtually finished and has been granted approval by first-party companies. Given that Final Fantasy XVI is to be released exclusively on PlayStation 5, this approval would have only been required by Sony, which might explain why it was secured so early. That said, it does not mean the approved version is exactly what gamers will experience at launch, as bug fixes and minor adjustments are almost certainly still being conducted. Although little is known about any post-launch support or content, it has been made clear that the PC version of Final Fantasy XVI will not arrive once PS5 exclusivity has concluded. Producer Naoki Yoshida left no doubt when explaining that although he would like to release Final Fantasy XVI on PC, that will categorically not happen this year, even though the 6-month exclusivity period negotiated by Sony and Square Enix is due to expire in December. There is also a demo coming weeks before the game's launch, so check that out if you're on the fence. Microsoft has confirmed that it is no longer offering the special $1 trial for the first month of a user's Game Pass subscription, which has been widely acclaimed as a good value addition for those who are just dipping their toes into the Xbox ecosystem for the first time. In a statement to The Verge, Xbox head of global communications Carrie Perez said that Microsoft has stopped its previous introductory offer for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass, adding that the company is already considering alternatives. This will definitely result in a decline of the subscription numbers, and Xbox players seems to be looking forward to taking advantage of the family plan of Game Pass next. This $1 cancellation is definitely due to the Activision Blizzard deal waiting to be approved, and the moment it gets approved the service is gonna go up in price. They have been taking losses on the Xbox hardware and Game Pass since its inception, so a price increase is definitely on the horizon coming soon. Sony has confirmed its PS Plus free game lineup for April 2023, with Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Meet Your Maker, and Tales of Iron releasing on April 4th. PS Plus subscribers will then have until May 2nd to claim the games. It's worth noting April 2023 is a bit of an unusual month for PlayStation Plus because one of the 3 games was actually announced early. Dead by Daylight Behavior Interactive confirmed its upcoming title, Meet Your Maker, would be a Day 1 PS Plus free game release. It is described as a post-apocalyptic building and raiding multiplayer game driven by community creations, where players must raid others, upgrade their arsenal, and more to save life on Earth. All 3 games will be available in native PS4 and PS5 versions for the Essential tier. Of course, anyone currently subscribed to PS Plus Extra or Premium will also be able to claim these games. Sackboy: A Big Adventure, as many know, is a platformer set in the Little Big Planet franchise. It launched alongside the PS5 in 2020, and while previous franchise entries were 2.5D platformers, this one includes full 3D movement. Tales of Iron is a hand-drawn adventure RPG title with definitively brutal combat. Players must reclaim their throne as the protagonist, Reggie the Rat, by assembling companions and defeating the Frog Clan. All in all, it's a strong lineup with a solid new multiplayer title, a PlayStation exclusive, and a Souls-like indie game. As always, if any of these particular games don't mesh well with a subscriber, more games will be given away on the Essential tier next month. Before then, even, Sony will reveal its new lineup of PS Plus Extra and Premium games for April 2023. Developer Ninja Theory used GDC 2023 to give gamers a glimpse of the next-gen graphics they can expect in the upcoming Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, premiering a trailer that shows off the incredibly lifelike facial animations created for the game using Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5. The long-awaited sequel looks to be shaping up to be a feast for the eyes, with even early pictures of Senua's character model from Hellblade 2 released last year looking drastically better than many games currently on the market. Fans of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice have been eagerly looking forward to a sequel ever since the original game's release in 2017. A dark fantasy action-adventure game that draws heavy inspiration from Norse mythology, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was praised by critics and gamers for its stunning visuals and unique narrative that provided a nuanced but unflinching look at the sometimes painful realities of living with mental health disorders like psychosis. After years of keeping details about the development of the game's sequel close to the chest, Ninja Theory announced in late 2022 that dev diaries for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 would be posted more frequently this year. A new video released by Ninja Theory as part of Epic's State of Unreal keynote at GDC 2023 shows that the developer hasn't been resting on its laurels despite the infrequent updates on Hellblade 2's progress. The short trailer forgoes showing off gameplay of the highly anticipated sequel, focusing instead on the incredibly lifelike facial animation made possible through the game's use of metahuman technology in Epic's Unreal Engine 5. While gamers may have already seen metahumans in action in the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 demo, the Hellblade 2 clip shows just how much the technology has advanced. The Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 clip begins with an off-screen director calling for the start of a take before transitioning to a digital double of Senua actress Melina Juergens in full costume in an empty volume. As the camera zooms in, it's possible to see the intense concentration on Juergens' face while she gets into character before the camera pulls back and the scene turns bright, revealing Senua's now scarred and dirt-caked face as she begins a short monologue. The facial animation on display in the scene is startlingly lifelike, with light playing off of Senua's face as she takes on an increasingly wild appearance. While this clip may not show off gameplay like some fans were surely hoping for, it serves as an excellent showcase of what players can expect from games running on Unreal Engine 5. And if Ninja Theory can combine this groundbreaking technology with the storytelling prowess it exhibited in the first game, players of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 will be in for a treat when the game releases. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice released back in 2017 to critical acclaim, with many praising its dark Norse setting and accurate depiction of psychosis. To further the immersion of the game, VR support for the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive was added in 2018. With how successfully the game's visual and audio design captured players, it wasn't a surprise when Ninja Theory announced a sequel, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, at the Game Awards 2019, just 2 years after the release of its predecessor. Unfortunately, in the nearly 4 years since its original announcement, details about the game have been sparse beyond a couple of graphical showcases. The most substantial of these showcases was during the Game Awards 2021, where a new trailer gave fans their first true look at some gameplay for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Despite being a gameplay reveal, this trailer was still very cutscene heavy, and while impressive visually, didn't really give a good feel for how the game would actually play. It seemed like GDC 2023 would a great time to show off gameplay for Hellblade 2 given the large gap in time since it was last seen, but disappointingly, the trailer shown did not include gameplay and was rather short overall. While it's good to see that developer Ninja Theory is clearly taking its time with this title, dedicating a lot of resources to making it the most visually stunning game it can be, going this long with little more than some in-engine tech demos doesn't bode well for its release timeline. As a game supposed to be on the cutting edge of what is graphically possible on modern hardware, Hellblade 2 needs to release sooner rather than later or risk being eclipsed by other games. As more developers become comfortable with Unreal Engine 5, it's likely more games on the same technical level as Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 will be released. Although Ninja Theory is not the smallest studio, developers with more resources may be able to release equally impressive games in a shorter timeframe that could take the wind out of Hellblade 2's sails if it doesn't release soon. The ever-evolving landscape of game development is always subject to changes in technology, and if Ninja Theory wants to remain ahead of the curve, it will take more than a tech demo to instill confidence in their upcoming release. Speaking of GDC and UE5, during the State of Unreal, Unreal Engine version 5.2 features and improvements were revealed. Epic Games demoed the cool lighting and shadow features of its Unreal Engine 5.2 game engine at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney and Unreal Engine leader Nick Penwarden showed impressive features like a new substrate shading system that enables artists to author materials at a level of quality and fidelity that wasn't possible before in real time. In doing so, it showed off renderings of an electric car from Rivian, showing how it was possible to instantly change the surface of a car's digital model, adding variations to its paint job or adding dirt and mud to the surface from driving through puddles. Substrate is a new material framework that should replace shading models such as Default Lit and Clear Coat. First introduced for early testing in Unreal Engine 5.1, this system will be an experimental feature in version 5.2. With Substrate, artists will be able to compose and layer different shading models to get more control over the look of objects. This allows them to create more complex and detailed materials for video games, cinematics, and films. In the demo, Epic Games showed how the Substrate system works in real time by swapping the car's paint for a reflective opal material. Normally, artists would have to go through a programmer to make such changes happen. Now the artist can do it alone in real time. Unreal Engine 5 has tools to more easily make huge open worlds with procedurally generated content. Quixel Megascans enable the creation of scenes with things like dense vegetation more easily. In the Rivian demo, an EV truck drove through water and I could see the dust and mud washed off the truck. Lumen events react in real time as developers move a light source around in a scene. And the changes propagate in real time in a scene in games such as Lords of the Fallen. Fortnite's Chapter 4 is using the new technology. Lumen can bring light flooding into a room in the game's environment. Sweeney said there are more than 500 million Fortnite accounts and 230 million users on the Epic Games Store. There were 71 million polygons in the Rivian truck, enabled by Unreal's Nanite. Epic Games showed off its opal metallic paint and its iridescent look on the truck's surface. You can add dust and dirt layers on top of that. About 77% of all Unreal users are on Unreal Engine 5, said Dana Cowley, communications director at Epic Games. At the close of the event, Epic Games showed off a blend of all the technologies, using a new programming language called Verse. Epic also said that it will distribute 40% of net revenue from Fortnite's creator section Fortnite Creative to the creators themselves. Epic Games made multiple improvements to virtual production, VP, workflows in Unreal Engine 5.2 by adding new shot creation and scene control tools. This summer, the company will launch MetaHuman Animator, a new feature set for its MetaHuman framework. It will allow creators to reproduce any facial performance as high-fidelity animation using an iPhone or stereo helmet-mounted camera. Unreal Engine 5.2 now natively supports Apple Silicon and Intel CPUs. The company also published a new roadmap for the engine that includes some experimental features like Render Resource Viewer, scriptable tools, and Chaos Flesh simulation. This update 5.2 brings in a plethora of improvements to path tracing, lumen, nanites, ray tracing, and more, while also introducing new features. Moving forward, we have the NPD numbers for the video games market. The US games industry spending followed up a modestly down January with a modestly up February, according to the latest monthly numbers from Circana, formerly the NPD Group. Yes, NPD was rebranded into or absorbed by Circana, so the name will carry forward. Total game spending in February 2023 is $4.6 billion, up 6% year-on-year. The biggest mover of the month was console hardware spending, up 68% year-over-year to post the highest February hardware total since 2009. The surge was largely driven by the PlayStation 5, which led the month in both dollar sales and unit sales. Sony's latest console has just broken a historical record for the manufacturer, which was held by the legendary PlayStation 2, known for being the best-selling console of all time. The PS5 has sold more than 533,000 units in February, beating the previous record holder, the PS2, in the United States region, making it the best month for PlayStation in US history. On the content side of things, console, PC, and subscription spending were all up enough to offset a decline in the mobile market. New release Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game of the month by a wide enough margin that it also became the best-selling game of 2023 through the first 2 months of the year. It was joined later on the charts by 6 more new releases in Wild Hearts, 8, Like a Dragon, 9, Octopath Traveler 2, 10, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, 15, Company of Heroes 3, 16, and Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, 20. The premiere of HBO's The Last of Us TV series also appears to have boosted interest in the series, with The Last of Us Part 1 climbing from 11th on the January charts to 6th for February. Meanwhile, The Last of Us Part 2 jumped from 41st in January to 18th last month. God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring still hanging in there. It is surprising that Forspoken made it to the top 10 for overall sales this year in the US, and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales still in the top 20 is very impressive and heartwarming to see a high-quality single-player game charting this long. Capcom's recent remake of Resident Evil 4 has been experiencing tremendous success since it launched, and it's been revealed that the game sold more than 3 million units in just a couple of days. Horror games seem to be selling well at the moment, proving that the genre is as strong as ever. Scary video games may not be to everyone's taste, but with a lot to look forward to from both the AAA and indie scenes, there's plenty of choice on offer for fans. Since releasing on March 24th, Resident Evil 4 has been met with high praise, with the game being particularly noteworthy for its ability to retain what made the original so special while giving it a much-appreciated contemporary makeover. There are some who even feel it may have surpassed its predecessor in terms of quality, but I have some bone to pick with it because of some content removal from the original that I liked. Even before the game launched, people had high hopes for it, thanks in part to the demo that gave players a tiny slice of things to come. Now those expectations have been met as Capcom has announced that the remake of Resident Evil 4 has been killing it in terms of sales, shifting more than 3 million units just 2 days after release. The report from the company goes on to say that, as of December 2022, the number of sales across the whole RE franchise exceeds 135 million units. It's certainly impressive to see that the series is still a force to be reckoned with, not just in horror, but in gaming in general. Of course, many won't be too surprised by this figure. Given that the remake was easily one of the most anticipated games of the year, perhaps of this whole generation for some, not many people expected RE4 to flop. When the series started back in 1996, the name Resident Evil quickly became synonymous with survival horror. It may not have been the originator of the genre, but it certainly popularized it and has influenced many other titles and studios since. It's hard to know exactly what's next for the Resident Evil brand. While there are talks that a 9th installment is currently in development, the success of RE4 continues to show that Capcom is more than capable of bringing back classic entries, blending nostalgia with fresh ideas. This could leave the door open for a remake of Resident Evil 5, and there are hints about it in the remake, which we'll discuss in a separate video. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.